Has anybody seen this photograph before? It's a very famous photograph and it's entitled The Kiss of Life. As a kid, I've always been fascinated with photographs, especially old photographs. People from the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, just what they were thinking in the moment, especially photographs of people that are taking without them knowing that the person is taking their photograph. And so today we're at the Rest Lawn Cemetery here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're gonna visit the grave of one of those men in that picture, one Randall Champion. He's the one hanging upside down in the photo. The other man saving his life, J.D. Thompson. Just another day in the life of J.D. Thompson. He didn't think nothing of it, but little did he know that somebody on the ground was taking his picture, and that photograph would be forever immortalized and seen by millions of people all over the world. The man that took the photograph was one Rocco Morabito. He took the photograph at the perfect time, at the perfect place, if there is such a thing in that moment. So Rocco was working for the Jacksonville Journal here in Jacksonville, Florida. And back in those days when you were a newspaper reporter, you had to find your own stories. If you don't find your own stories, you can pretty much kiss your job goodbye. So you got to be pretty knowledgeable about what's going on in the city. You got to build up your contacts. You got to make friendly with other people. That way, when a story breaks, you're the first person that they call. I would be a horrible newspaper reporter because, as antisocial as I could be at times, nobody would call me. But for Rocco, he was the exact opposite. So on the date that the photograph was taken, which was July 17th, 1969, Rocco was looking for a story, and there was a train strike that was going on in the area. So he parks his car over on 26th Street, and he's taking photographs of the picketers and all of that. When he gets out of his car, he notices that there's a man that's on a power line. That man's name was Randall Champion, and they were upgrading all of the wires or what have you in that area. So he looks at the guy at the pole. He's like, all right, maybe I'll take a photograph of him. It'll look good for down the road sometime, or if I do a story about something to do with electrical workers or what have you. So he goes to the story that he's covering, and he takes his photographs. And as he's walking back to his car, he hears people like yelling and screaming, like, oh my God, or what have you. And he looks up and he sees Randall Champion hanging upside down, being secured by his safety belt. So he takes his Rolleiflex camera and he snaps one or two pictures really quick. Hey, you're a journalist, you got to think about that first. Then he runs to his car and he gets on his radio and he says, hey, get some paramedics down here. There's a guy that's upside down on the pole. I think he got electrocuted. And boy, did he. He got hit with about 4,000 volts of electricity. Now, working on the next pole was one J.D. Thompson. They had just gone through training in the event something like this would take place. Apparently, Randall accidentally touched a live wire. Maybe he didn't know it was live. Maybe it was supposed to not be live, so forth and so on. So J.D. Thompson, he's like maybe 100 or 200 feet away. He gets down his pole and runs up to the pole, and immediately, to his training, he starts giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and then he's beating on his chest. I think he said he did this for maybe a few seconds, he said. And then all of a sudden, Randall gasped. J.D. Thompson said that when he first seen him, that his face was totally blue, his cheeks were blue, no movement at all, not breathing at all. So he brings it back, and now he's like cautious. So they set his line to where they're able to safely bring him down to the ground. Now, when they bring him down to the ground, Randall starts kind of flailing, because now that he's conscious, he's thinking that the live wire's on him. So he's like just moving on the ground or whatever, and they're trying to tell him, "Hey, kick back. You're safe. You're back on the ground." So he would end up suffering a pretty bad burn to his foot, and so they got him to the hospital, and he made a full recovery. And J.D. Thompson, what did he do? He went back to work. He didn't get off that day until about 3 o'clock in the morning. Now the next day, this photo, which is quite a photo, starts making the wire service all over the country and the world. And the photo is very, very powerful. I mean, you're witnessing a man save another man's life. The kiss of life. And Randall said that when he was in the hospital the next morning, he seen the photograph and he was angry. He wasn't angry because he's on the front page of the Jacksonville Journal, you know, unconscious, and another man has his mouth over his. He was mad because he did not kiss his children goodbye before he went to work. He basically could have died, or would have died, and he didn't kiss his children goodbye. Not surprisingly, about 22 years later, Randall would suffer another similar injury, but this time it was worse than the previous one. He was working on a line and he hit a live wire again. This time, instead of 4,000 volts, he got hit with 26,000. He got hurt very, very badly. It burned off part of his nose, one of his lips, his forehead, and one of his fingers burned off. He was in the hospital. They had to send him down to a special burn unit at an Orlando hospital. He was there about 5 weeks. However, he did make a full recovery. And then about a couple years later, he said, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna hang it up." No pun intended. So he retired in 1993. And I believe the following year, J.D. Thompson would retire from JEA. And just a quick story of, you know, two men who are forever bonded because of that iconic picture that was taken by Rocco Morabito. This is the final resting place of Randall Champion. You can see his name right there, and of course this marker is sunken in, and it's just a lot of, it's like impacted dirt. Yeah, this stone would need to be taken out and reset. Yeah, just, you know, an ordinary man who, you know, something not so ordinary happened to, and it was captured by a remarkable photo. And I love those types of photos. So rest in peace to Randall Champion. The man who took the photo, Rocco Morabito, died back in 2009, but he lived to a ripe old age of 88. 42 years of working for the Jacksonville Journal, only broken up in employment by having to serve during World War II. Thank you for your service, sir. We'll visit his grave on a future video. J.D. Thompson, as the recording of this video, he's still very much alive and very much still with us. So Mr. Thompson, he's one of those guys, he doesn't like people making a big fuss about this. He has done some interviews, but he just said, I simply did what I was trained to do. Kudos to him if he's watching this. Just a remarkable picture that captured a very remarkable thing, saving another man's life. Lamont at Large, I will see you on the next video. Be good, y'all. Peace out.